I need to start this off by saying that I'm not a dramatic person. I'm not the type to jump to conclusions or throw accusations around. In fact, I've always considered myself pretty laid back, maybe even a bit gullible. My wife Emily and I had a solid relationship, or so I thought. We'd been together for over 7 years, married for 5, and had a comfortable life. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and our shared friends. But things started to shift. It all began subtly. Emily was a creature of habit. She would come home from work, we'd have dinner together, and then we'd watch a show or two before heading to bed. But it was around the beginning of summer when things began to feel off. She started working late more often, and while I initially told myself it was nothing to worry about, just her being dedicated to her job, I can't help but recall the first time I felt that gnawing sense of something being wrong. It was one Saturday night. I'd just gotten off the couch after binge-watching a series I didn't care about and went into our bedroom to find her asleep. At least that's what I thought, but then I heard it. James, oh James. She was murmuring in her sleep and my heart sank. I know I'm not James, I'm Matt. Who the hell is James? I shook it off, assuming I was being paranoid. Maybe it was some random name from a show she'd been watching. I tried not to dwell on it, but the name lingered in my mind, gnawing at me. In the following weeks, things escalated. Emily became more distant. She'd leave her phone face down whenever we were together, and I caught her scrolling through messages on it when she thought I wasn't looking. I also noticed how she'd turn off her phone's notifications whenever I was around. At first, I thought it was just a new privacy thing she was into, but the little changes started piling up in my mind, raising red flags I tried to ignore. I mean, who wants to believe their spouse is cheating? I didn't want to jump to conclusions. But the more I thought about it, the more I began to doubt everything. The late nights, the hidden phone, the random name in her sleep, it all began to weave a troubling tapestry. But it wasn't until one fateful Wednesday that it all unraveled. I took the day off work to catch up on some things around the house. Emily claimed she had a big meeting and would be gone until late, so I decided to use the quiet time to clean up and maybe enjoy a nice, quiet evening. Little did I know that my mundane plans would take a sharp turn towards chaos. As I tidied up our bedroom, I noticed her purse sitting on the dresser. It was slightly unzipped, and for a moment I debated whether I should respect her privacy, but my gut twisted and I found myself reaching in. There it was, the unmistakable sight of a hotel keycard. My heart dropped. I pulled it out, staring at it like it was a loaded gun. I didn't know what to do next. Should I confront her? Should I wait until she got home? I felt sick but knew I couldn't let this slide. My gut instinct told me that this was my moment of truth. This wasn't just about a name anymore. This was evidence. When Emily got home that evening, I was stewing on the couch, heart racing and mind racing faster. I watched her walk in, her demeanor light and carefree, oblivious to the storm brewing. She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, and I suddenly felt like I was watching a different person. "Hey, how was your day?" she asked, her voice bright. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and cut through the niceties. "We need to talk, Emily." Her smile faltered, and I could see the gears in her mind turning, searching for an escape route. When I pulled the hotel keycard from my pocket, her expression shifted from confusion to outright panic. "Where did you find that?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "Does it matter? The real question is, what's going on, Emily? Who the hell is James?" As the words left my mouth, I felt a mix of anger and betrayal swell in me. I needed answers, and I wasn't ready for the whirlwind that followed. She tried to play it off, throwing out half-hearted excuses, claiming it was just a work trip she forgot to mention. But the lies spilled out, clumsily unraveling in the face of my determination. I could see the fear in her eyes, her resolve crumbling as she scrambled to keep her story straight. My heart raced as I confronted her about the late nights, the phone habits, and the name that haunted my sleepless nights. Her feigned innocence slowly morphed into defensiveness, and I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I can't believe you would accuse me of this. You're being ridiculous, Matt. You know how busy work has been." She shouted, but by then I'd had enough. I felt the betrayal wrap around me like a heavy cloak, suffocating and unsettling. It was hard to breathe through the anger, sadness, and disbelief. But all I could think was that I needed to face this head-on, to understand what had gone wrong. I wanted to scream, to cry, to lash out. But I remembered my goal. I had to get to the heart of this, and somehow I had to take control of my own narrative in the chaos she had created. The confrontation spiraled quickly. The atmosphere shifted from tense to explosive, and I could feel the weight of our years together collapsing into a moment of truth. Emily, who had always been my partner, my confidant, was now a stranger standing before me defending a lie. "Tell me the truth, Emily," I shouted, my voice echoing in the silence of our living room. "I deserve to know if you're cheating on me. I found the key card and you've been acting strange for weeks." She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. The look on her face was a blend of anger and fear, and I couldn't tell which one was more real. After a long pause, she finally said, "It's not what you think, I swear." "Then what is it, Emily? Because right now all I see is deception." "Fine, you want the truth," she snapped, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I've been stressed about work. That meeting was crucial and I didn't want to burden you with my worries." "Don't play that card with me. This isn't about work. You know it." I shot back, feeling the adrenaline pumping through my veins. Her face turned crimson and I could see the tears welling in her eyes. "Okay, okay," I met someone, but it's not serious. It was just a mistake." Her voice trembled as she spoke and I could hardly process the words. A mistake, just a mistake. The phrase reverberated in my mind and I felt my heart shatter at the realization that she had crossed a line that I never thought we'd face. "A mistake? You think this is a mistake?" I asked, incredulous. "You're lying in bed with someone else and you want to call that a mistake?" "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely and you were always busy with work too. It just happened," she said, her voice rising in pitch. "Lonely? What about the vows we made to each other? Did they mean anything to you?" I could feel the anger boiling over, hot and visceral. It felt like a betrayal of everything we had built together. I had spent years loving her, supporting her, and now I was faced with the raw reality of her infidelity. The emotional weight of betrayal wrapped around me like a vice, squeezing tight. I paced around the room, trying to make sense of my racing thoughts, the betrayal gnawing at my insides. "I can't believe this," I muttered, trying to catch my breath. "I thought we had something real. I thought I could trust you." Emily stepped closer, her expression shifting from defensive to pleading. "Matt, please, let's talk about this. It was just physical, nothing more. I promise it meant nothing." Her insistence that it was just physical felt like a slap in the face. It stripped our relationship down to something so trivial, something dehumanizing. "Nothing more." I echoed, my voice cracking. "You think that makes it better? You think I can just forget this?" The realization hit me hard. I didn't know if I could ever look at her the same way again. I felt the tears stinging my eyes and I blinked them away, unwilling to show weakness in this moment of devastation. "I need a minute," I said, my throat tight. "I can't do this right now." I turned away from her, needing to catch my breath, needing to think. I stepped outside onto the small balcony, the cool evening air hitting my face like a splash of cold water. I leaned over the railing, trying to clear my mind. The city lights sparkled in the distance, and for a moment I let myself get lost in the view, desperate for clarity. But all I could see was my reflection in the glass, the man she had betrayed. How had we gotten here? I felt like a fool, like I had missed every sign along the way. The doubts, the late nights, the excuses, they had been building up to this. How could I have been so blind to her intentions? My mind raced through memories of happier times, moments when I thought everything was fine. But now every recollection felt tainted. As I stood there, the silence of the night wrapped around me. I needed to gather my thoughts and decide what to do next. I couldn't just let this go. I couldn't ignore the betrayal that had cut me to my core. When I finally went back inside, Emily was sitting on the couch, her head hung low, shoulders shaking as she tried to contain her sobs. Seeing her like that stirred something in me, a mix of anger and sadness. I didn't want to see her hurt, but I was hurt too. "I can't just pretend this didn't happen, Emily," I said, my voice steady but full of pain. "We need to figure out what this means for us. I don't even know who you are anymore." "Matt, please," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I love you. I made a mistake. I want to fix this. I'll do anything." Her desperate words hung in the air, and I could feel the weight of both our choices crashing down around us. I had a decision to make, and it wasn't going to be easy. I needed to consider what I wanted for my future and whether I could ever rebuild the trust that had been shattered. The emotional impact of her betrayal was heavy, a weight I was not prepared to carry. I couldn't shake the feeling that our lives had irrevocably changed in that one moment. Every promise, every shared dream felt like they'd been reduced to ashes, and I was left to sift through the ruins, trying to find a way forward. The night stretched on, filled with tension and uncertainty. I knew I needed to confront the reality of our situation, but the path ahead felt murky and fraught with pain. All I could do was take it one step at a time, navigating this treacherous emotional landscape and deciding how to move forward. The next few days were a blur of emotions, a chaotic mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Emily and I tried to function normally, but everything felt different. It was like we were walking on eggshells in our own home. The air was thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings, and every little noise felt magnified in the silence that followed the confrontation. We avoided each other in the mornings, both of us retreating to our routines, but the tension was palpable. I'd sit in the kitchen, staring at my coffee as if it held the answers to my questions, while she would shuffle around, pretending to be engrossed in her phone. I wanted to scream, to break through the facade she was trying to maintain, but I held back, unsure of how to approach the situation. One night, after another awkward dinner where we barely spoke, I cracked. "We can't keep doing this, Emily. We need to talk about what happened and what we're going to do next." She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I know, I just don't know where to start." "Start with the truth," I pressed. "What happened with this guy? How did it get to that point?" Emily shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting around the room. "It was never supposed to happen. I met him at a work event. He was charming and attentive, and I felt like I was invisible to you," she admitted, her voice shaky. "Invisible? I've been busy, sure, but it doesn't mean I don't care about you." "You could have talked to me about it," I shot back, my frustration boiling over. "Instead, you let your loneliness drive you into someone else's arms." I know, I messed up," she exclaimed, her voice rising in desperation. "But I didn't think it would go that far. It was just a fling. I swear it meant nothing." The words cut deep. "You keep saying it meant nothing, but it clearly meant something to you," I said, my throat tightening with emotion. "You don't just sleep with someone for no reason." I was confused. It was a moment of weakness. She cried, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, Matt. I want to fix this." Her pleas felt like a broken record, a desperate attempt to salvage what was left. But could it be salvaged? As I looked at her, I felt torn. I still loved her, but the betrayal hung like a dark cloud over our relationship. I couldn't just sweep it under the rug. I needed to confront the reality of what had happened. "Emily," I said, taking a deep breath, "we need to decide what we're going to do. I can't keep living like this, pretending everything is okay when it's not." She nodded, wiping tears from her cheeks. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." "Will you? Because right now I don't know if I can trust you," I replied, the bitterness creeping into my voice. "How do I know you won't do this again? How do I know you're not still with him?" I ended it, I swear. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to be with you." She insisted, her voice pleading. "Then prove it," I challenged, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "Prove to me that you're committed to making this work. We need to go to couples therapy or something. I can't do this alone." Emily hesitated, and I could see the realization washing over her. "You think we need therapy?" she asked, her voice small. "It's the only way I can see us moving forward. I need help processing this, and I think you do too. We can't just keep talking like this and expect everything to suddenly be okay," I said, feeling the knot in my stomach tighten. After a long pause, she finally nodded, her expression shifting from anger to remorse. "Okay, I'll do it. I'll go to therapy with you." With that agreement, a small flicker of hope ignited within me. Maybe there was a chance for us to rebuild what had been broken, but the path ahead would be steep and filled with obstacles. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and trust would take time to rebuild. The next week, we started therapy. Our first session was filled with tension as we sat across from the therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Foster. She guided us through our feelings, gently pressing us to articulate our thoughts and emotions. Emily shared her fears about our relationship, while I struggled to articulate the depth of my hurt and betrayal. It felt like opening a dam, allowing all the pain to flow out. Dr. Foster listened and asked questions that forced us to confront the ugly truths we had been avoiding. Emily, what do you think drove you to seek comfort outside of your marriage? She prompted. I felt neglected and alone, Emily admitted, her voice shaky. Matt was always busy with work and I thought I could find someone who would appreciate me. And you, Matt, how did that make you feel? Dr. Foster turned to me. It made me feel like I wasn't enough, I replied, the weight of my words hanging heavy in the air. I thought we were a team and I didn't realize how isolated she felt, but it doesn't justify what she did. Through those sessions, we began to peel back layers of resentment and hurt. We talked about our needs, our fears, and the cracks that had formed in our relationship. I saw Emily grow, more vulnerable as she explored her motivations and the emptiness that had led her to betray me. But it was hard. The emotional toll was immense. I found myself grappling with feelings of inadequacy and anger. Every time I heard her speak about James, I felt a surge of rage and heartbreak. Dr. Foster encouraged us to express those feelings, but it wasn't always easy. As therapy progressed, we began to establish some ground rules for our relationship moving forward. Emily committed to being more transparent, and I promised to make an effort to be more present and involved in her life. We discussed ways to strengthen our emotional connection and deepen our intimacy, but it felt like we were building on quicksand. There were moments when I wanted to scream and throw everything away. I had to remind myself to breathe, to take things one day at a time, even when the pain felt overwhelming. I was still navigating a swirl of emotions, and it often felt like we were walking a tightrope. But as weeks went by, I found myself grappling with the question, was it worth it? Could I forgive her? Would I ever be able to trust her again? Each session pushed us closer to the edge of a decision I wasn't ready to make. The process was grueling, but I was determined to work through it, if only to find an answer to those questions. One evening, after a particularly draining therapy session, I sat down with Emily on the couch. "How are you feeling about everything?" I asked, trying to gauge where her head was at. "I don't know," she admitted, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "I want to make this work, but I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'm terrified of losing you." I watched her, recognizing the vulnerability in her voice. "Me too. It's hard for me to let go of the hurt, and I'm still figuring out how to move forward," I said softly. "But I want to try. I want to see if we can heal together." Emily reached for my hand, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could navigate this mess together. Maybe we could find a way back to each other. But as I stared into her eyes, I knew that the road ahead would be long, filled with hurdles and hard truths. Trust would take time, and I was uncertain if we could truly come out the other side intact. All I could do was hold on to that fragile hope and commit to the journey ahead, no matter how daunting it felt. As the weeks turned into months, Emily and I continued our therapy sessions, each one peeling back layers of pain and resentment. There were good days and bad days, moments of connection interspersed with shadows of doubt. I found myself questioning whether we were making any real progress or if we were simply delaying the inevitable. In therapy, we began to establish some rituals. We'd have weekly check-in conversations where we'd sit down with cups of coffee and discuss how we were feeling. It was awkward at first, and I often struggled to express my emotions without sounding accusatory or bitter. But as time went on, I started to appreciate these moments of honesty. They became a lifeline, a way to reconnect amidst the chaos. One evening, as we sat on the couch with our coffee steaming in front of us, I decided to bring up something I had been contemplating. "Emily, do you think we'll ever really get past this? I mean, do you think we can rebuild what we had?" She looked thoughtful, her brow furrowing. "I want to believe we can, but I know trust takes time. I'm still working through my own guilt and shame, and I can't expect you to just forget," she replied, her voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "It's hard to forget, especially when things pop into my head. Sometimes I still think about you and him, James, and it makes me sick." Her expression softened. "I know it's not fair to you. I ruined what we had, and I'm still trying to understand why I did it. I promise I'm committed to us, but I need you to know that I'm still figuring things out too." That admission hung in the air between us, heavy with vulnerability. It was refreshing to hear her acknowledge that she was still on her own journey, wrestling with her choices. It made me realize that we were both healing, albeit in different ways. But as the emotional landscape shifted, I found myself grappling with my own demons. I was still furious at her betrayal, and it felt like every step forward was met with 2 steps back. I had good days when I felt hopeful, but there were also nights when the darkness crept in, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was fighting an uphill battle. One of those nights came abruptly. I awoke in a cold sweat, a nightmare clinging to the edges of my mind. I had dreamt of Emily with James, laughing and sharing intimate moments, and I jolted awake, anger and fear swirling together. I turned to look at her, peaceful and unaware beside me, and I felt the familiar sting of betrayal wash over me. I got out of bed and went to the living room, needing space to breathe. I poured myself a glass of water, staring blankly out of the window into the dark expanse of the night. My thoughts tangled in a web of confusion. Was I wrong to feel this way? Was I holding onto the past too tightly? Just then, my phone buzzed from the kitchen counter. I hesitated but decided to check it. It was a message from a mutual friend, asking if I wanted to join him for a drink. I considered it for a moment, then decided that maybe a night out would be good for me. I texted back, agreeing to meet in an hour. When I returned to the bedroom, Emily was awake, her eyes filled with concern. "Where are you going?" she asked, sitting up and pushing her hair away from her face. "I'm meeting Eric for a drink," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "What, at this hour?" she replied, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Matt, it's late. Can't it wait until tomorrow?" "No, it can't. I need to get out for a bit. I need to clear my head," I explained, my frustration bubbling to the surface. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I cut her off. "Emily, I'm not trying to be mean. I just need to do this." Her expression shifted, and I saw the fear flash in her eyes. "Please don't go out drinking. I don't want you to do something you'll regret." The tension hung thick in the air, and I felt anger rise again, mixing with the lingering turmoil from the confrontation. "Something I'll regret. I'm not the one who cheated, Emily." The words slipped out before I could catch them, and I immediately felt guilty for snapping like that. She flinched, and the hurt in her eyes struck me like an arrow. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just worry about you," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll be fine. I'm just going to grab a drink and talk with Eric," I replied, feeling the weight of her gaze on my back as I grabbed my jacket. As I walked out the door, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me, but I pushed it aside. I needed this time away, a chance to be out of the house in my own head. I needed to think freely, without the constant reminders of the betrayal that had become a part of our daily lives. The bar was lively when I arrived, and I immediately spotted Eric at a corner table. He waved me over, grinning as I approached. "Hey man, glad you could make it. You look like you need this," he said, handing me a beer. "Thanks," I said, taking a sip. The cool liquid felt refreshing, but it couldn't wash away the turmoil inside me. We chatted about random things at first, sports, movies, and mutual friends, but soon enough Eric's gaze turned serious. "How are you really holding up with everything that's been going on?" I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "Honestly, it's been rough. I'm trying to work through it, but it feels like I'm always 2 steps back from where I want to be. Emily and I are in therapy, trying to fix things, but I don't know if I can ever really trust her again." Eric leaned back in his chair, studying me. "It's tough, man. Infidelity shakes the foundation of everything. You're not wrong to feel angry or confused. Just make sure you're doing what's best for you too." His words resonated with me. I had been so focused on Emily's feelings and the relationship that I had neglected my own mental and emotional well-being. "I guess I've just been so consumed by all this that I haven't thought about what I want," I admitted, feeling a wave of vulnerability wash over me. "Look, you don't owe anyone anything. Take the time to figure out if this is what you truly want. You deserve to be happy too," Eric said, his tone genuine. I nodded, the weight of his words settling in my chest. "You're right. I need to reevaluate what's best for me, not just what I think is best for us." As the night wore on, I felt a sense of clarity creeping in. I loved Emily, but I also needed to prioritize my own happiness. I couldn't lose sight of myself in the process of trying to salvage our marriage. By the time I got home, the sun was beginning to rise, casting a soft glow over the living room. I quietly slipped inside, hoping not to wake Emily. But as I rounded the corner, I found her sitting on the couch, waiting for me, worry etched on her face. "Matt, you're back," she exclaimed, relief flooding her voice. "I was worried about you. I'm sorry for staying out so late." "I just needed some air," I said, feeling a mix of guilt and resolve. She looked at me, eyes searching. "For something? Are you okay?" "Honestly, I'm still processing everything," I admitted, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "But I think I'm finally starting to understand what I need. I can't just focus on fixing us without taking care of myself too." Her brow furrowed, and for a moment I saw the glimmer of hope reflected in her eyes. "I want to be part of that, Matt. I want to help you heal, not just for us, but for you." I nodded, feeling the weight of her sincerity. "I want that too, but it's going to take time. I need to be honest with you. I'm still angry, and I don't know if I'll ever fully trust you again, but I'm willing to try if you are." The next few weeks were filled with ups and downs, as we both navigated the choppy waters of our relationship. I focused on rebuilding my sense of self while still engaging in therapy, and Emily made efforts to show that she was committed to rebuilding trust. It wasn't easy, and I found myself wrestling with my emotions like never before. But through it all, I began to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with. We started to share more moments of vulnerability, and I felt her sincerity in wanting to make things right. The journey was far from over, and I knew we had a long way to go. But for the first time in months, I felt like we were on the right path, learning to communicate and work through our pain together, one step at a time. As spring began to melt into summer, I felt a subtle shift in our household dynamic. Emily and I were still in therapy, and though the journey remained challenging, there was a glimmer of hope that hadn't been there before. The sessions became less about blaming and more about understanding, as we both made an effort to communicate more openly. I found myself reflecting on the moments that had brought us to this point. The laughter we shared, the dreams we had built, all the memories that felt so distant at times, they began to resurface, reminding me of the connection we had once shared. I realized that despite the betrayal, there was still a flicker of love left in me, fighting to illuminate the dark corners of our relationship. One evening, after a particularly difficult therapy session, we sat on the patio, the sun setting in brilliant hues of orange and purple. The air was warm, and I felt an unusual sense of calm wash over me as we shared a moment of silence, sipping on our drinks. "Matt," Emily said softly, breaking the quiet, "thank you for being patient with me. I know I've put you through a lot, and I'm grateful you're still here." Her words caught me off guard, and I turned to look at her. "I'm trying, Emily, but it's hard for me to forget. I still think about what you did, and it makes me angry. I don't want to keep bringing it up, but it's always in the back of my mind," I admitted, feeling the vulnerability creep in. "I understand," she replied, her voice steady. "I feel guilty every day for what I did. I wish I could take it back. I'm trying to show you that I'm committed to making this work, no matter how long it takes." "That's all I can ask for," I said, feeling a sliver of hope flicker inside me. "I want to believe that we can get back to a place of trust, but I need to know you're really in this." "I promise I am," she said earnestly. "Let's keep taking it one day at a time. I want to earn back your trust, and I'll do whatever it takes." As summer rolled in, we began to make small changes in our daily lives. We went for walks together, started cooking new recipes, and even began to explore new hobbies. It was refreshing to break free from the heavy atmosphere that had enveloped us for so long. I slowly started to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, the Emily I cherished, not just the person who had betrayed me. But just when I felt like we were making progress, a setback rocked me to my core. One afternoon, while Emily was at the grocery store, I received a text from an unknown number. Curiosity piqued. I opened it to find a message that made my stomach drop. "Hey, Matt. Just wanted to check in and let you know that Emily and I are still in touch. I think. Only fair, you know." I stared at the screen, my heart racing as waves of anger and betrayal crashed over me. All the progress we had made felt like it was slipping through my fingers. My pulse quickened as I processed the implications of the message. Why was she still in touch with him? Had she really moved on? When Emily returned home, I confronted her immediately. "Who is James? Why is he texting me?" I demanded, my voice shaking with emotion. She froze, her eyes widening. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb. I just got a message from him saying that you're still in touch with him," I shouted, feeling the anger boil to the surface. Emily's face paled and I could see the panic setting in. "Matt, I swear I'm not talking to him. I cut all ties after the confrontation. I would never betray you again." "Then who is this guy? Why is he reaching out to me?" I pressed, feeling the walls close in around me. "I don't know. Maybe he's trying to mess with us. I ended everything when we agreed to work on our marriage. I promise." Her voice trembled as she spoke, and I couldn't tell if it was genuine fear or a clever ruse. I felt sick to my stomach. "How can I believe you? This feels like a cruel joke and I can't handle more lies. Please just listen. I'll prove it to you," she pleaded, her eyes wide with desperation. "I don't know if I can keep doing this," I yelled, feeling the weight of the betrayal crushing down on me. The ground beneath me felt unstable and I realized just how fragile our progress had been. "Let me show you my phone. I'll show you everything," she insisted, her voice urgent. I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to run away to protect myself from further hurt. But a part of me yearned for the truth, desperate to find clarity amid the chaos. I wanted to believe her, but trust felt like a distant memory. She handed me her phone, and I scrolled through her messages, searching for any sign that she had been in contact with James. After what felt like an eternity, I found nothing that indicated she had communicated with him since our confrontation months prior. "See, there's nothing here. I promise I cut ties," she said, her voice almost pleading. "But why is he texting me? This doesn't make sense," I said, feeling my heart race. "Maybe he's just trying to stir the pot. I swear to you I haven't spoken to him since you found out," she insisted, her eyes filling with tears. I felt the tension in my chest start to ease, but my mind was still racing. What if he's just waiting for us to fall apart again? What if he's trying to get back into your life? Emily stepped closer, her hands trembling. "He doesn't matter, Matt. What matters is us. I want to be with you, and I'm willing to do anything to prove that to you. Please don't let this one text ruin everything we've worked for." For a moment, I couldn't respond. I was torn between anger and the desire to believe her. I wanted to trust her, but the pain of the past was still fresh. "I don't want to lose you, but this feels like a betrayal all over again," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I get that. I can't change what I did, but I can show you that I'm committed to us. I'll go to therapy alone if that's what it takes. I just need you to believe in me," she said, her voice steady despite the tears rolling down her cheeks. That night I lay awake, turning over everything in my mind. After hours of tossing and turning, I finally decided that I needed to take back control. I couldn't let James dictate the terms of our relationship anymore, and I wasn't going to let his message derail the progress we had made. So the next morning I texted him back. "If you want to talk, let's talk. I need to hear it from you directly." After hitting send, I felt a wave of relief mixed with anxiety. I was ready to confront whatever was going to come my way. It was time to reclaim my narrative and ensure that Emily and I were on the same page. I wanted answers, and I was determined to get them. As the days passed, I waited for a reply, my emotions swirling like a tempest. I had no idea how this confrontation would play out, but I knew I couldn't continue living in uncertainty. I needed the truth, and I was prepared to face whatever came my way. If James had something to say, I was ready to listen. The day passed slowly, each tick of the clock echoing in the stillness of our home. I felt a knot in my stomach, a mix of anticipation and dread. Finally, around mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed with a reply from James. My heart raced as I opened the message. "Hey, Matt. I didn't want to come between you and Emily. I reached out of concern, not malice. I thought you should know that she's been talking about you too in our conversations, and I didn't want you to think she was hiding anything. I'm sorry if I caused any trouble." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I had half expected an outright denial or some form of manipulation, but this felt different. James was being transparent, which threw me off. I knew I had to approach this carefully. "Why would you reach out to me now?" I typed back. "What's your angle?" His response came almost instantly. "I genuinely think Emily wants to make things work with you. I don't want to be a part of that. I thought you should know she's been struggling and talking about the state of your marriage. Just wanted to clear the air." I sat in silence, absorbing his words. It wasn't the answer I was looking for, but it offered me a glimpse into Emily's perspective, her struggles, her attempts at honesty. Was James attempting to manipulate me, or was he genuinely trying to do the right thing? I couldn't be sure, but I decided it was a conversation I needed to have with Emily. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow in the living room, I confronted Emily. "I got a message from James today." Her face fell and I could see the color drain from her cheeks. "What did he say?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for her reaction. "He said he reached out of concern, that you've been talking about our marriage. He wanted me to know he didn't want to be a part of our issues." Emily's eyes widened, surprise etched on her features. "I can't believe he would do that. I haven't spoken to him since everything happened. It's been months." "Are you telling me the truth?" I asked, my heart pounding. "I'm tired of feeling like I'm living in a fog of lies. I need you to be honest with me." "Matt, I swear, I haven't talked to him since that night. He's just trying to stir the pot because he thinks he can get me back," she said, her voice urgent. "I want you to know that I'm fully committed to making this work. I love you and I'm not going back to him." The emotion in her voice struck me and I felt a part of my anger begin to dissipate. "Then let's talk about what that looks like, because I can't keep living like this. If we're going to move forward, we need to set boundaries and rebuild trust. I can't have this hanging over us." She nodded, her eyes glistening. "I want that too. Let's figure it out together. I'll do whatever it takes." As the days turned into weeks, Emily and I began to work through the fallout from James' message. We set clear boundaries about communication, and I encouraged her to be open about her feelings and struggles without fear of judgment. I also committed to being more present, prioritizing our time together. While the scars of betrayal were still fresh, I felt a renewed sense of purpose in our relationship. We explored new activities together, from hiking to cooking classes, and gradually, the laughter and warmth that had once filled our home began to return. But the road to recovery wasn't without its bumps. There were times when I felt a flash of insecurity or jealousy, moments when I'd remember the betrayal and the pain would surface again. Emily would notice and reassure me, reminding me of our commitment to healing. "I'm here, Matt. I'm not going anywhere," she would say, her eyes firm but filled with compassion. We continued our therapy sessions, tackling new issues as they arose. Each session forced us to confront uncomfortable truths, but it also brought us closer. We learned to express our vulnerabilities, our fears, and our hopes, creating a new foundation built on honesty and openness. As summer faded into fall, I felt a change within myself. I was learning to forgive, not just Emily, but myself as well. I had spent months in anger and hurt, but now I was beginning to find peace. I recognized that while trust takes time to rebuild, it was possible if both partners were willing to put in the work. One chilly evening, as we sat in our living room wrapped in blankets, sipping hot cocoa, I turned to Emily and smiled. "You know, I never thought we'd make it through this. I was so angry and hurt, and I just didn't see a way forward." She reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "I get it. I didn't think we could either, but I love you and I want to fight for us." "I love you too," I replied, feeling a warmth settle in my chest. "I think we're finally finding our way back to each other." As we sat there, surrounded by the soft glow of the fireplace, I realized that while the journey had been painful, it had also strengthened our bond in unexpected ways. We had weathered the storm of betrayal and emerged on the other side, ready to build a new future together. In that moment, I understood that relationships aren't just about the good times, but also how we navigate the hard times. It's about forgiveness, growth, and the willingness to fight for one another. Life would continue to throw challenges our way, but I was ready to face them alongside Emily, armed with the lessons we had learned. Moving forward, I vowed to cherish the moments we had and to never take our love for granted again. We were not just survivors of betrayal. We were partners committed to a new beginning, and that, more than anything, made me believe in the power of love and resilience.